Let us begin. So, thank you very much to everyone, and welcome to our today's session where we are discussing about the purpose of an African person. As I was saying before, we talk about the purpose of life last week, as King Fanelo presented it to us. So today we are going to talk about the purpose of African. What is the purpose of African? You know, um, what is the purpose of African? Because purpose in life is everything. If there's no purpose, that means there's no direction. If there's no purpose in life, it means there's no motivation. If there's no purpose in life, it means there's no even struggle. So purpose in life is everything because the purpose gives us the direction, it gives us the orientation, and it gives us the sense of time. At every time we then refer to the time, to the purpose, and we understand where we are standing with regard to the purpose that we have in life, and we begin to reorient ourselves to make sure that we reach to the destiny where we are supposed to go, which is eventually our purpose in life. So it's the same thing with an African person. Eventually, every people in the world are the creatures of the Creator. So definitely our purpose should be the same as creatures of the Almighty Creator. I don't know how you call him, I don't know how you refer to him, but eventually the one who engineered the existence of human beings, he created all of us equally, and therefore our purpose should have been equal, so to say. However, the time, the situation, the circumstances that every group of people go through defines their purpose at that moment. Let me put it in a simple example so that we understand. Let's say that you enroll yourself at a university for a 4-year degree program. Let's say you want to become a lawyer. You go and register at school to becoming a lawyer, and you have 4 years of studies. Therefore, your purpose at that moment is to become a lawyer, to finish your 4 years of studies and becoming a qualified lawyer. That becomes your purpose in life, or at that moment. Now, as you are going through your education, let's say, for instance, at the second year of education, you get sick. You get sick immediately. Your purpose now changes. Your objectives now changes. It's no longer to achieve your degrees, but is to get healed from your disease, because without your health condition being in shape, you won't be able to finish your education. So automatically, the circumstance of your health changes automatically the purpose or the objective. I want to be more precise, the objective of your life at that moment, because you now need to change everything to begin now fighting for your health. So it is the same thing. So it means that what we are going through, even though we can have, as a human beings, have a collective purpose in life, but for us as African people, for us to understand better what is our purpose in life, we need to question what is our reality today as African people in the world, and what should be the ideal reality of African people. From then, we begin to understand what is the purpose of us as African people in this generation. What should be our purpose? You see, so we need to question our reality. What is our current reality? In terms of all the richness that Africa has been blessed with, in terms of all the resources that we have, what is the purpose? Looking at the reality, the condition of African men and African women in the world today, where Africa is rich, but is also at the same time a house to many hungry people in the world. Then our purpose in life becomes then the purpose of, or objective becomes then that which consists of eradicating all the artificially or man-made sufferings that we are going through as African people, in order to rebuild ourselves and to rebuild Africa in a dimension that really glorify the African being and eventually the one who created African being. You see, this kind of topic, you will find it more discussed in the churches, in the mosques, mostly in the religions. But I'm always thinking, for example, when I go through the literatures, for example, the biblical literatures, one thing I find there is that every person, every so-called prophet that was called to come or was called by God, right, according to the Bible, was there to fulfill a particular purpose. And that purpose was not away or was not remote from the conditions that the people of Israel were going through. Let's say, for example, when we talk about Moses, what was the purpose of Moses? Was to liberate people from the slavery, according to the narrative. When you talk about Joshua, what was the purpose of Joshua? Was to allow people or to help people to enter in what they call the promised land. When you talk about Gideons, all these peoples, when you talk about David, all of them had objectives or missions or purpose related to the conditions that people were going through at that moment. So, based on that, I'm always asking myself as well, with all the many pastors that we have in Africa today, looking at the condition where Africa is, neo-colonized, enslaved, resources of Africa plundered every day. African children are growing without any prospect of better future. What is the purpose of all these preachers? If it doesn't really serve to liberate Africa, to free Africa, then they are useless, right? That's my line of thinking anyway. So that is to say, we need to assess correctly what is the purpose of everything that we do. One of our greatest ancestors, John Henry Clarke, said that everything that touches your life, whether it is spiritually, whether it is economically, whether it is physically, whether it is mentally, everything must be transformed into a tool of your liberation and emancipation. But if that whatever thing is not transformable, if it cannot be serving you as a tool of your liberation and emancipation, then you're going to have to throw it in the trash can of history as quick as possible. So, what Africa needs at this moment is liberation. We all know. Therefore, the purpose of African men and African women today is not to go to heaven or to go to paradise, even though that is the ideal picture, even though that is maybe the end goal that we are pursuing. But as long as we are on earth, the purpose of our life is to rebuild Africa. We have been put here for a reason. And that reason is to make sure that we are enjoying the total conditions that will allow us to fulfill that reason of us being here. As a slave, you cannot fulfill the reason for which you have been brought here. As a new colonized person, you are not fully operational, and therefore you cannot fulfill the reason for which you have been brought here. The one who has brought us here expect us to reflect him, not in mediocrity, but to reflect him in the degrees of excellency. But being new colonized, being enslaved, it doesn't help. So the first thing that you need to look first is your liberation. It means the liberation of Africa. And once we are liberated, then if you want to go to heaven, you're going to go to heaven. If you want to go to paradise to meet with the 72 virgins, you can go there. But liberation and emancipation of us as African people is the first thing that we need to look for. So the purpose of our lives is to liberate ourselves. And why we are talking about liberation is because we need to understand the state at which we are today is not a God-given state, is not a God-ordained thing. Sometimes we have been taught in religion that this is the order or this is the will of God, because when you listen, when you understand that your sufferings or your predicament is the will of God, then you can do nothing about it because it's God who decides. But we need to understand what we are today is not ordained either by God or by angels. It is a man-made, it is a manufactured reality. And because men have made it, we are also capable of changing it, right? But it requires, of course, that our consciousness must be above the paradigm which is imposed, which has been imposed on us, or which has eventually condemned us to the suffering in which we are finding ourselves today. So the first thing that I want to say is that for you to understand your purpose as an African person, you must firstly understand really who you are as an African. And for me, I'm always thinking that being an African is a divine, because it is something that you cannot deny. You see, we are today born in the different nationalities. We are born in the Congo, we are born in Nigeria, we are born in Ghana. We can choose one day or the next morning to move away from all these nationalities. We can decide to move away from all these religions that we have embraced. We can decide one day to move away from all these cultures in which we are born. But one thing that we cannot move away from, one thing we cannot escape, is fixed on us straight from the birth. It is our identity as African people. And even if we die today, after I don't know how many millions of years, our bones can still identify us as African people. So it means if you die today, nobody will really know if you have ever spoken Yoruba, Twi, or Lingala, Swahili. Nobody will know what language you spoke. Nobody will know what passport, what nationality really you were. But one thing that cannot be denied, one thing that will eventually go with your bones, go with wherever you go, is your identity as African person. So being Africans, I think, is really divine, right? And it's not for nothing that when you look in the world, it just seems like everything in the world have been so designed to feed us as African people. The sun is in sync with your body, your structure, as an African person. You don't run away from the sun. Actually, you need the sun so that you can flourish, so that you can develop certain vitamins in your body that will combat certain diseases. So these are certain things that have to prove to us that we were at the center of the vision of who created the universe, who created all of us, God, Allah, I don't know how you refer to him, but we were at the center of his mind when he was making everything. So by understanding this, it has to give us at least a confidence that we are here for a mission, and we cannot accomplish that mission if we are still in the condition of slavery, of neocolonialism, of servitude in which we are today as African people. So therefore, our purpose, the first purpose, is to do whatever that needs to be done to create, firstly, our conditions of freedom, is to liberate ourselves. And the liberation of Africa means nothing else but to rebuild Africa as a global power base through institutions of power. So it means today, as we are in this platform, 11 of us, we are more than capable and we are more than enough to begin right now embarking in that journey that will lead the whole continent to a total liberation and emancipation and rebuild Africa as a global power base. That is our purpose today, because if Africa is not strong, none of us as African people in the world will be enjoying freedom, will be not able to live as a free person. And without the freedom, you cannot even glorify, you cannot even serve your creator if you have to serve him. You cannot even serve your ancestors if you have to serve them. You cannot even really fulfill the true purpose for which you have been created and put on this earth. So it means that our purpose as African people today is to fight for our freedom and liberation. Once we have achieved that state of freedom, then we can do anything else that the Creator had in mind when he created us. So I don't intend to be long. With the Free Minded Academy, we don't believe in a banking system of education. It means we don't believe that people are supposed to be listeners, passive listeners, on whom you come and deposit what you believe is an important knowledge. No, that's not what we believe. So we have a revolutionary mindset or idea about education, where we believe that education is a debates, interactive debates, so that what you can also bring to this topic can enrich every one of us. So this was just a short presentation of what I believe, what we believe to be the purpose of African person, African male and female. And then I will soon open the platform so all of us to contribute, so that at the end of this session, each and every one of us will be able to make a package that he can take home and begin to meditate about, to think about, so that he can eventually find himself not on that area of passive and fatalist people who believe that their conditions are static and cannot be changed, but rather we want to find ourselves in that area where we are engaging our imagination in order to create the reality that we want and destroy the current reality of neo-colonialism and oppression. And we are more than capable of doing that. We are more than capable of doing that. It's just a matter of us understanding the process and following the process until we get to where we are supposed to be. So in a nutshell, the purpose of African person today, let's say, for example, as I said from the beginning, if the Creator created us, for example, just to worship him, but we are finding ourselves today in the condition where we are being neo-colonized. Our land is taken hostages to build the future of European kids. Our kids are going to school, they don't have hope, they don't know if they will get jobs, they don't know what's going to happen in their lives, simply because there's a system that has been implemented or that has been imposed on us to make sure that systemically, us as African people, we are dissented, we are disenfranchised, we are excluded from the opportunities that are under our feet right now. So in this situation, you cannot serve whoever you want to serve. In this situation, you cannot flourish as a human beings. So the first thing that we need to seek for is our freedom. And once we regain our freedom as African people, we'll be then able to do anything that we want to do to please, I don't know, the ancestors or the Creator. So the first purpose at this moment for us as African people is to free ourselves, because Africa is in the condition of Africa is living under the condition of domination and exploitation. And everybody that are living in the condition, or every person that is living under domination of other people, will have to suffer oppression, because domination, whether it's domination by angels, by parents, by domination, will always give birth to oppression. And a person or an entity under oppression cannot flourish, cannot achieve its full potential and then magnify the purpose or reflect or actually fulfill the purpose for which it was created. So that's what we need to do now. And I said also that the liberation of Africa means our unity and our capability to create institutions by which we can live as African people. And that's the only way we can ensure that we are free. What is even perpetuating our sufferings today is not because simply of what other people do to us, it's simply because of what we don't do for ourselves. We are depending on other people's institutions for education. Actually, in all 9 areas of people activities, we're talking about entertainment, education, economics, labor, law, religion, sex, war. I think I forgot the 9th one. So all these 9 areas, right? I think the 9th one is politics, means education, entertainment, politics, labor, law, religion, sex, and war. I'm still forgetting the 9th one. But anyway, all these 9 areas, we need to make sure that we have our own institutions in order to look after ourselves and to defend our own interests. So thank you very much for your time. So I'm going to open the platform now for our interactions. Everyone who has something to say about this topic, or if you have a comment or a different view on what it should be the purpose of an African person, please unmute yourself and let us know what you think, so that at the end of the day, we can go away with something. Please don't discard what you have. Don't think that you don't know anything. All of us, we are here to learn. You know, it's It's like, if you have an apple, a fruit, and I have one, we exchange. I'm still having one apple and you have one. But if you have an idea and I have one, we change. I've got two ideas, I've got two ideas. So please take courage, and then jump on the stage and share with us what you think. So thank you very much, King Fanelo. I saw that you were about to talk. Please go ahead. Unmute yourself, please.
Thank you so much, King Kabbalah. You said something very important, that the situation that you find yourself in dictates the priority of the time. Going back to your example, that if your mission was to study and qualification, but now you are sick, then the first priority now, it stands to reason that we're gonna attend and prioritize health first, so that we achieve the bigger picture. When I look at South Africa or at Africa, all the nations that we are faced with, the first thing that is just is poverty.
Please, the reception is very low from your end.
Oh, is it? Okay.
No, I can hear him clearly. I don't know, maybe King Jovenis, you want to check your mic, but I can hear him clearly, unless if I'm the only one.
Is it?
Okay, then you can continue.
All right. But it means if all of us, we can see and compare ourselves, for instance, with other nations, we see that Europe lives lavishly, and we look at the conditions of our nations. We just see mud, dusty roads, poor infrastructure. And we look in South Africa, in the case, we look at suburbs, beautiful infrastructure in Cape Town, and then we see right next to it townships in shacks and shacks and shacks. And now, obviously, as sons and daughters of this continent, it means we cannot, when we find ourselves in such a situation, we cannot look to the West or the East for solution. We cannot have another savior or another foreigner to come and help us, Chinese maybe, or Europe. It stands to reason that we are born where we are. I'm born among the Zulus. Someone else is born among another tribe in that territory, among your family. That means you have to contribute in your family, you have to contribute in your community, you have to do something to deal and solve the poverty issue. So I like to the way you put it in that way, Uguti. We just have to be awakened to realize that no one else will solve the problem that we see. It's us. And maybe we even take it a step further. We realize that a single politician cannot solve African, challenges, or national, or even a one official who's a councillor or chief or a mayor or a politician. Actually, it will take every family pulling their hands on deck to solve this problem, because nobody must sit. And I think maybe that is the narrative that we have to be conscious, that if we all decide to sit and look at one person and blame one person, we're not going to get anywhere. But if we choose that every one of us is important, our families are important, our gifts are important, then every gift on deck, then only then we will have a success in shifting things in our time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, King Fanelo, for your contribution. Wonderfully said. Thank you very much. So I don't know, is there anybody else that is willing to also contribute to the topic today? Please feel free to unmute yourself.
Well,
yeah, go ahead, please.
I do not know if this has been covered, but pondering this thoughtfully, before we talk about having our own institutions, which I have been clamoring for a while now, it would be absolutely vital. So there is a particular hymn in one of the faiths that says, who's on the Lord's side, who? Now is the time to show. We ask it fearlessly, who's on the Lord's side, who? And that was actually taken from either Exodus or Numbers, or one of the Torah, so one of the definitely one of the last three, one of the last four rather books of the Pentateuch, or the Torah. And this was obviously Joshua asking who was on the right side of history to make it known. If I use that term and tailor that to our own situation, I would basically say for us to even clamor talking about our own institutions would be a need for us to talk about how we can unite, and on top of that, show loyalty. Because then, if we are not united and we do not have any form of loyalty, having our own institutions and the likes of it all will definitely be an impossibility.
Thank you very much, King, for your contribution. Well said. No much comment to make. So thank you very much. The floor is still open. Anybody who has a comment, contribution to the topic today, the purpose of an African, please feel free. Jump on the stage and let us know what you think about what can be the purpose of the African man and African woman in this 21st century. What can be our purpose as we are going through everything that we can describe related to our condition in the world today as African people. The floor is still open. Who has the mic?
If I may speak, please.
Yes, please go ahead, King.
All right. Thank you so much for first of all the introduction and the presentation about the topic. Personally, I like this topic because, as you said in your presentation, purpose is everything. If you don't have purpose in life, you might not know the direction you are heading to. So let's consider here a purpose like a compass that will show you exactly where you're heading to, where your east is, where your west is, and so on and so forth. So basically, it is important for us as African to first of all identify or put clearly what our purpose is. For instance, generally, if we talk about human beings, for instance, we could just say that our purpose as human on earth is to at least leave this place, this planet, better than we find it. If we don't find ourselves in position to do it that way, then we should at least be able to not destroy it. At least, even if we cannot leave it better than we found it, we shouldn't destroy it. But when it comes to, that's human, but when it comes to Africans, first of all, we have to ask ourselves, are we fully living as human? Because this question, because most of the atrocity that has been committed onto us, and over the years and over the course of history has just been based on the theory that we are lesser human. Therefore, for me, I think our purpose in life is to first of all put ourselves back on the scale of human by rebuilding ourselves first, and then rebuilding our society to be able to at least preserve or project the humanity in us onto the whole world and protect everything of kind that will come after us. So for me, our purpose as African is to first of all rebuild ourselves, put ourselves in position as human, and do what human normally do. I mean, leave legacy behind for generation to come, being able to protect ourselves when we are under attack. So, I mean, personally, that's what I think about this topic. And thank you so much. And once we are clear and sure about this topic, we should be able to know which direction we are heading to, and then which tools we should use to achieve our goal. I mean, once we set the purpose clear. Thank you so much. I'll end here for now.
Thank you very much, King Giovannis. You have pointed on something very, very important by saying that once we free ourselves, once we restore ourselves as African people, once we bring ourselves back to the state of human, which has been destroyed in us, then our next purpose is even to restore humanity in the world. That is a fundamental, because when you look in the world today, you may almost say that we are heading towards extinction of human being. And for me, this is even interesting because most of my my fellow Christian friends, they are praying and doing everything they can for Jesus to come back, right? And I'm always thinking that if Jesus doesn't come back quickly, he may just find robots on earth. No human being, no human civilization, just the footprint of human disaster. Just matter of you looking in the world and see what is happening today to figure out exactly where the future of the world is. So I think, as Dr. John Henry Clarke said it well, he said that since we are the first people to give humanity to the world, and that's the reason why maybe the divine has kept us alive regardless of all the predicaments and sufferings we have gone through during the slavery, colonialism. The reason why we have been spared was maybe to bring back or to restore humanity, to bring the last humanity to the world again before the world is kind of extinct. So I think that is what he said, and I do agree with him. So you have pointed out also that one, which is very important. Thank you very much. Yeah, the floor is still open. Please feel free if you have something to contribute with on the topic. Please come on board and tell us what you think about the purpose of the African person.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Please, Caleb. Yeah, please go ahead. We can listen to you.
All right. Thank you. And thanks for the presentation. I was a bit late, but from the title of from the topic being discussed, I will try to place a few words and yeah. So I think this is a very, very, very important topic because Africans have been lagging behind for very, very long, and many people, like the majority of people, are not doing the right thing. So I think this is the time for a few to start something great that will change the course of the African destiny. So yeah, this initiative is something very, very interesting because I think one of the things that may help us take over is the change of mind, is education. So because we know that if a generation is trained in a given way, I I think at least 2 generations will be taught the same way. So the pace at which the disaster is growing is exponential. So it is very important for us to take advantage of the light we are getting now, and then train the little ones once they are still small, so that as we grow, or as they grow, the change may occur. So I think the bottom up approach will be something very important to help us appropriate our purpose, and then be able to get things right. So yeah, this was just a little idea I wanted to contribute here.
Thank you very much, King Caleb. You have wonderfully said. I mean, you also pointed out the importance of teaching children. That's what Frederick Douglass said, that it is easier to raise strong children than to change a broken man. So definitely, you're right. If we want to make sure that we succeed on this task, we have to have a focus on the younger generation, because those are the future of Africa. And if we don't prepare them, that means we are not knowing exactly what we are doing. So thank you very much. The floor is still open. We still have time to discuss. Anybody who has something to contribute with on the topic, please come on board. Feel free. The floor is still open. Anyone, please come on board. The floor is open for your contribution, or whatever you think about what can be the purpose of an African.
I think I can just jump in again while the rest of the kings and queens are mobilizing their thought.
Yes, please.
I think then, the best way to look at it, where I've also maybe concluded, is that sometimes we live, we can't blame our parents. Our parents, my parents, my father and dad, I really can't blame them, and my grandparents, because they grew up in a time where they are just yes boss. They were treated harshly, and so they were broken. But I am the first generation in South Africa, because first generation that experienced the transition, 1994. Before then there were lots of restrictions, but since then we are almost the bridge generation, where we then suddenly are allowed to go to institutions of higher learning, and we have the government sponsoring our education. Now, we studied electrical engineering. I studied, and my wife studied BCom, information systems, and we're the first generation that were allowed higher jobs in industry, in corporates. We could rise as far as we desire, to reach senior management, leadership, corporate. So we understand corporates, because before then, my parents did not understand corporate, because they were only restricted to being general workers. Now, the ceiling was removed, and the ground was leveled, and that we could have funding to send us to very expensive universities. Now, given this the paradigm, and also let's understand that we are the first generation who are blessed in terms of technology. It is so easy to travel. In my days of my grandfather, they used Pullman, they used trains, they used buses. They used to even sleep at the station when they travel. Today, we just jump on the plane, and we just jump on, there are Ubers. Now we are talking right now. All of us across the continent of Africa, it's possible. So that means we are a generation that find itself with so much information, so much knowledge. I mean, we know things that my father could have not known, nor my grandfather. So I suspect, anyway, if we look at it that way, most of us, we are then that generation that is slightly had better opportunities. Now, accordingly, so if we are the generation that suddenly can live and have houses in suburbs, and suddenly have good salaries, and suddenly travel and see the world and see different things, it means much is expected from us, because we are not supposed to just, say, look at ourselves and say, these niggas, they must work hard. I worked hard myself. No, we the first crop that must go back in the townships and the villages and actually purposefully invest and be role models. With a generation that must sacrifice, we cannot drive BMW, Mercedes. With the generation that must take truckloads of our wealth and assets back and lift the next generation. I mean, someone here mentioned that we need to be fathers. We need to be different fathers than we were fathers. We need to be there to groom the next generation for opportunities and prepare them differently than we were prepared. Because some of us were looking after the herding kettles, most of our early childhood. And now we live in a time where that is not a skill that is required more. Now we need to, be savvy with AI. How do we fit into the AI world? How do we fit into the kind of society we find ourselves in, driven by currency, democracy, voting? These are the systems we never learned from school, even in Africa, even on the continent. But perhaps other civilized or advanced societies, maybe they long started grooming their kids. China, for instance, their youngest kids start building robots, and they already closed the digital divide. Tina, we're still struggling with 5G. We don't even have coverage in some villages, let alone the devices and the gadgets, let alone electricity and water. So perhaps it falls on us. It falls on us. And I think if there's anything we need to be conscious about, our calling, our purpose as a generation, I'm speaking to my peers, is that we need to be different fathers. We need to be different mothers. We need to raise the next generation like we've never done. I'm gonna yield there.
Thank you very much, King Fanelo, again for your contribution. Definitely on point. Well said. Like always. Thank you for that. So the floor is open. I'm sure some of those who have joined a bit late, they've had a chance to understand the development of the topic. So you might have your own experience, your own understanding regarding the topic of the purpose of an African. So please come on board if you want to contribute. Anything that you want to say. Is there anybody that has something to say? All right. I guess we don't have more comment. I think on the topic. So for me, as a pack away, what I can say, is that anybody trying to speak?
Greeting to all kings and queens.
All right, King.
Hello.
Greetings. Please go ahead. Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm Tepo Sapate from Gauteng in South Africa. I'm happy to be a part of this group. Let me jump into the question. I believe the question is, what is the purpose of the South African child or an African?
No, African person generally. I mean, the purpose of African person, male or female.
Okay. The question is very, very broad. Just to think of it. But what comes onto in my mind, it's
it is difficult for us to define the purpose if you don't have a direction. So I think the purpose of the African child is to maybe redefine ourselves as Africans and unlearn all the things that we were taught prior. Because most of the things they took away our identity. So for us to be able to track back our purpose, it will be difficult for us if we don't understand our identity first. So I would say maybe we need to redefine ourselves and maybe unlearn everything that we were taught. Yes, there are some good things that we were taught, but in terms of the education system, it taught us to be copycats. Because on everything that we do, we have to see it from someone else, from other part of the world, for us to be able to maybe, like for instance, we are not innovative enough as Africans. So for us to be able to identify ourselves, we need to identify ourselves with things that we are producing. At this point, there's nothing that comes on my mind that I can point out and say we are producing as the African people. So I think I will wrap my statement by saying we need to redefine ourselves as African people. Yeah.
Thank you very much, King. Redefinition, that's a key word. And I cannot agree more with you on that. I mean, that is even the beginning of freedom, is when you are able to define yourself. And one of our revolutionary leaders, Kwame Ture, said that every free people must have the power to define their own terms and make those terms accepted by other people. And that same power is the power that the people who want to oppress you must take away from you. When they want to oppress you, they don't want to attack your wealth first. They don't want to attack your money, your land, or whatever. They want to attack first and foremost your power to define yourself, to define your reality, to define your own terms, and to make those terms accepted by other people. And when they take that power away from you, then they begin to define who you are. They call you a barbarian. They call you uncivilized. They call you, so they define you in the way that will justify the actions against you. So as Africans in this moment, I think we need to redefine ourselves. That is even the essence of this freedom we're talking about. We have been defined in what we are today, you know. So how do we define ourselves firstly? Because we cannot even, get closer to understanding your purpose in life if you are operating or navigating on the wrong paradigm that has been defined by your oppressor. Or in other words, if you are navigating on the definition imposed on you by the people who don't want you to be better. So I think that's a very key. We need to firstly begin by redefining ourselves. Once we find the way to look at ourselves, to define ourselves, then we'll be closer to understand exactly what is our true purpose in life. So this has been a great contribution as well. Thank you very much. The floor is open. Anybody else that has a contribution to this learning topic about the purpose of an African, please come on board.
All right. I'm jumping in again.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So, what I want to say is, how do we redefine ourselves, given that we are already living in a world that has its own direction, and probably we are not at the time before when we got oppressed. So in this new environment, what are the priorities that we need to put on the table and then work on? So basically, I think we first need to get a clear understanding of the problem that we are having, and then try as much as we can to trace back the causes and probably think of some solutions based on the tools we have at hand, and then from there I think proceed. So the purpose may not be an individual purpose. I think it should be a collective one. So if it should be a collective one, I think first of all it may be I don't know, per country purpose. Like the ideas may come from one country to another, and then the purposes may be defined probably per country, and then we come together and probably put everything together and see what are the key aspects probably we need to tackle first before moving to others. So yeah, this is just a thought I wanted to share.
Thank you very much. Well said. And I'm sure your question, you have left an open question. Eventually, anybody who want to attend to that, please feel free to attend. I think if I heard well, your first question was that how do we begin by redefining ourselves? So, of course, anybody who want to take on that, please. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, everybody. I think I came in very late, and this is Anani Pemo. And what I can say is young people's potential in Africa as the key to African sustainable development. And Africa has the youngest population in the world, with at least 70% of sub-Saharan Africa under the age of 30. Such a high number of young people is an opportunity for the continent growth. But only if, I repeat, only if these new generations are fully empowered to realize their best potentials. And it is especially important that young people are included in decision making. In my point of view, and also given the appropriate opportunities to work and to innovate, and also involving young people in politics and society is not merely a question of inclusion, but one that is vital for economic growth, is innovation, peace, and security. The African Regional Review can show that if you look at the data of African Regional Review, African Development Review, and we can see that young speakers from civil societies are speaking alongside ministers and other leaders. And the agenda features a dedicated event of young people all the time, because if you don't follow the minister or the one who is ahead of you, your words will not be heard in the public. So it is important that young is involved in decision making, as short as that. And it is important that we as young people are recognized as equal partners and as right holders also, not only as victims or drinkers, beer drinkers, as many of our people think. So having a young population brings many opportunities for economic growth and innovation. And if these opportunities can be recognized and utilized, I think African youth will achieve something, and our future will be bright. So, in many countries outside of Africa, Europe, or America, countries with aging populations like Italy, where I'm living, are facing high healthcare costs and a shortage of skilled labor in Europe. In Africa, young people face underemployment and lack of opportunities, or without access to internet and lack of information about any opportunities. So young people are contributing daily to the benefit of their communities and nations across Africa. So I think from providing support to the elderly to advocating for justice and equality, young people have proven their centrality to building and sustaining health community. So I think to cut it short, in my point of view, as I said earlier, Africa have to involve in young people's in politics. We have to involve in politics and decision making in our society, and economic growth and many innovations and security level. So this is what I think. Thank you very much, and let's continue.
Thank you very much, King Anani Pemo. It's a pleasure to hear from you. Long time ago. Thank you very much, my king. Peace and love.
Yeah, I'm back, and I'll be part of everything from now on.
That's a very good thing. That's a very good thing to hear. Welcome back. All right, we are heading towards the end of our time, end of our session today. So I don't know if there's any comment that we want to take away with. So, well, thank you very much, all of us. Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I recognize the Uom here. We've got elders here, so I recognize Uom Vernon. He's got fantastic ideas when I speak to him there in the Western Cape. He's got some fantastic ideas for young people. You know, we spoke. He was talking about using recycling. You know, so Uom Vernon, greetings to you. If you know how to unmute this device in Telegram, you can unmute and greet the young people. Okay, I think Uom Vernon may not be able to unmute there. Okay, it's fine, King Kabala.
Okay, thank you so much, King Fanelo. We are grateful to have our elder, King Vernon, among us, and then any other royalties in the room. King Anani Pemo, a pleasure.
King Jovanis, I think we have lost you there. Are you still talking?
Ah, goodness. All right. Yeah. I think my network hasn't been stable. I was just expressing the pleasure we have to hear once again from Anani Pemo. I know King Caleb's question is still in the air. I have been talking with King Caleb for a while now, and he still have one leg in, one leg out in terms of the African agenda. It is great to know he has honored the invitation today coming in, and his question certainly will be addressed. I don't know whether any royalty in the room want to address it, else maybe he may come back himself and then tell us what he think about it. But then I would love to hear from our royalty name Actions plus Action. He or she has been here from the beginning, and we haven't heard from her. If she can or he can come in and then give us few words from what we have discussed so far, it will be great. I don't know whether King Kabbalah will give the floor to somebody to give us a conclusion on what we have discussed so far as well. So I'm gonna put these suggestions forward, and then we can be able to finish the meeting nicely. Thank you.
Yeah, King Jovenis, what did you say? Should conclude? I'm open for anything, please.
Obviously, I would like to hear from Ashton. Ashton has been here from the beginning to the end, but unfortunately, we haven't heard a single word from him or from her. I don't know who is behind that name. It will be great to hear from that person. Also, we have King Yao Covey, who has also been here from the beginning, who can also make a summary for us. Unfortunately, our queen, Kissy, she joined very late. She was struggling with her network. I have to chat her in the background here and there for her to come in. So she might not be able to capture all we have said before she came in. So let's give the floor to King Covey or Action, if they can unmute themselves, and then let us hear from them.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
This is Kwame Gonza. I'm the one who has the name Action on it. But I think let Kofi give the closing remarks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, kings and queens. I'm Kofi Yao. About the topic we just discussed today, the purpose of life as an African. I think we have said it all, and we need to be serious now as Africans. Why do I say that we need to be serious? Since transatlantic slave trade, a whole lot of things have gone on, and we have been marginalized, oppressed, tormented, and our values have been taken away. So African Renaissance is now, and we need, as Africans, especially the youth, have to understand that our forebears, Dr. Nkrumah, Selassie, and co, have ignited an agenda which, because of imperialist agenda, they were jettisoned and thrown overboard. So this journey that African Continental Unity Party have started is a revolution, and a revolution is not a matter of laughing to an enemy. We need to be serious with our enemies, and what we have to do to change the system. That's the word I always like to use, African Renaissance. We need to pursue it with seriousness, and things that are blockade in our forebears their way, we need to kick them out and be serious as revolutionaries, because this is the last slot if we didn't do it well and keep our identity. We want a power base for Africa, and that power base, we need to consolidate it, because our children's what we went through, our fathers and we ourselves went through, shouldn't happen our children's. So it should go on us as activists of African liberation and freedom, that we should be serious, should take every step we are taking very serious, because the neo-colonialists or our colonizers, they also are taking steps to disorganize us. You know, I watched a video. They said no, they can't allow us to industrialize. So it's an agenda they have that we need to be suppressed, and that shackles. We need to move out of it. That vicious circle. We need to move out of it and create a new dawn of happiness, freedom, liberation, and industrialization. And those old boundaries, we need to kick them out and move as a united person, as a Ubuntu spirit. How we all, when I was young, my grandfathers, when it's Yam Festival, they call families, they sit down, eat together. Today, those things are not common to see again. It is there. Europeans and the so-called white, they make us so. So, in a nutshell, I just want to say, let's be serious with this agenda and achieve a goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, King. On this note, I say thank you to everyone for joining us today, for your participation. We have this session every Wednesday up to the 10th of January, where we discuss purpose, everything that we need to do, we are doing. We need to understand the reason why we are doing them. And then the discussion has been very fruitful. All the comments have been very productive. If you think critically about each and every comment that has been made here, and they try to reflect on it, and to try to take actions on it. So thank you very much again. We will end our meeting here, and we say, if you have two shoes, please sell one and buy a sword. If you have two trousers, you sell one and you buy a sword, because now it is time for revolution. And this revolution is not on the streets, it's in the mind. Because if we are in charge of our mind, then we are in charge of our reality as African people. So, freedom and decolonization to all Africans, those abroad, those at home, and those in the future. Thank you very much. We'll see you next Wednesday. Peace and love. Bye-bye.